It is said that in the land where the sun kisses the baobab trees each morning, there lived a man named Chidi. Chidi was a man of steadfast faith, as solid and reliable as the ancient rocks that cradled his village. For all the years of his marriage, his rhythm was as constant as the seasons. He would rise with the dawn, pray with his wife, Nika, and together they would walk to the village church, their footsteps joining the river of the faithful flowing towards God's house. Chidi and Nika were good people, kind and generous. But in their hut there was a silence that ached. For 12 long years, the cry of a child had never echoed from their walls. They had prayed until their knees were sore, fasted until their bodies grew light, and still, the cradle they had carved from mahogany remained empty. Yet Chidi never wavered. "God's time is the best," he would tell Nika, his voice a gentle rumble. He believed, with every fiber of his being, that his miracle would come one Sunday, right there in the house of the Lord. But one Sunday morning, the harmony broke. It began with a small thing, as great troubles often do: a misplaced pot, a sharp word born from the fatigue of hope long deferred. The small spark ignited a fire of old grievances. Words, sharp as thorns, were exchanged. Nika, her heart raw from years of silent longing, spoke words of bitterness. Chidi, a man usually slow to anger, felt a hot rage boil within him. The quarrel grew, filling their small home with a storm where peace usually lived. "Let us go to church," Nika pleaded, her eyes red-rimmed. "We can pray about this." But the anger had coiled itself around Chidi's heart. "Go if you wish," he said, his voice cold and hard like forged iron. "I will not sit in God's house with this fury in my chest. I will not be a hypocrite." Nika looked at him, a deep sadness in her eyes, before she turned and left alone. Chidi sat stubbornly on a stool outside his hut, his arms crossed. He watched his neighbors, the Okafor family with their 3 laughing children, walk past. He saw Maima Zainab, the oldest woman in the village, being helped along the path. Each person going to church felt like a small judgment against him, but his pride was a fortress, and he would not surrender. Meanwhile, in the small, vibrant church, the service was reaching its zenith. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the sound of heartfelt hymns. The pastor preached about the faith of Abraham and Sarah, about waiting on the Lord. Nika, sitting alone in her usual pew, felt a tear trace a path down her cheek. She prayed not just for a child, but for her husband, for the anger that had built a wall between them. It was at that moment of collective, fervent prayer that a strange and beautiful light began to glow at the front of the church. The singing faltered, then ceased. A hush, profound and holy, fell over the congregation. There, standing beside the altar, was a being of pure light. His robe seemed woven from moonlight, and his presence filled the room with a peace that was almost tangible. It was an angel of the Lord. The angel's voice was like the sound of many waters, gentle yet powerful. "I seek the man named Chidi," he proclaimed, "he who has been a faithful servant, whose prayers for a child have risen like incense to the throne of the Almighty. The Lord has heard him, his time of waiting is over." A wave of awe and excited whispers swept through the church. All eyes turned to Nika's pew, expecting to see Chidi rise, but he was not there. Nika's heart leapt into her throat, a mixture of immense joy and crushing dread. The angel's luminous gaze swept over the congregation, searching each face. "Where is Chidi?" he asked, a note of divine confusion in his tone. "He is not in his accustomed place." The pastor, finding his voice, stepped forward. "Mighty messenger, he is not here today. We do not know why." The angel's countenance seemed to change, not to anger, but to a deep, sorrowful resolution. He held in his hands a bundle of light, from which the soft, healthy gurgle of a newborn could be heard. It was a sound Nika had dreamed of for 12 years. The blessing was appointed for this day, for this hour, in this holy place. The angel said, "The vessel must be present to receive the gift." A miracle cannot be left on the doorstep like a parcel. It must be handed to a faithful heart, open and ready. With a sigh that seemed to make the very light in the room dim, the angel said, if only he had come to church this Sunday. And as suddenly as he had appeared, he began to fade. The bundle of light and the sound of the child faded with him, growing fainter and fainter until nothing was left but the memory of the miracle that had been so close. The angel returned to heaven, and Chidi's miracle returned with him. Chidi and Nika never did have a child of their own. They adopted orphans and raised them with love, and their home was eventually filled with laughter. But until his old age, whenever Chidi spoke to the young people of the village, his voice would grow thick with emotion. He would tell them his story, the story of the Sunday he missed,